Welcome back, everybody. Today's diary video is actually going to be, I would call it for myself, an epiphany. And I wanted to up the production quality of these a little bit by not just talking about what I experienced this week or what led to these thoughts, but also showing you the discussion that really resonated with me and I would say illuminated a serious, common, persistent problem that I've been noticing when I am trying to improve my community. Okay. So, the person who's had positive impact on my life many times in the past 5 years, and honestly, it's been a hot minute. It's probably been out 6 months since I listened closely to some of his content, but that's Dr. K. So, I want this video I'm going to show two clips from Dr. K in the last 2 weeks. They're in his VODs. You can easily find them. That I feel like describes my problem. So just quick TLDR so you have context. Dr. K had a conversation with Pirate Software about the fact that he's getting bombarded with death threats and harassment all over the place. Honestly, completely unwarranted stuff, but it all comes down to, in my opinion, him not having taken accountability for his actions. But it's him thinking he's taken accountability and these hateful watchers not feeling like he has. And the next conversation is about basically Dr. K talking about the truth and how people think things that are true and they're prioritizing that over the meaning of what they're saying. And so I'm going to, that's like the best context I can give beforehand. So I'm just going to go ahead and show these two clips. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. This is for myself in the future as well. So Pirate Software has just given his reasoning for why what's happening to him and why he doesn't deserve this, and talking about, his side of the story, right? So he's just done that. And this is Dr. K's response.
I think what makes this really challenging is not that you're wrong. I think what makes this hard is that you're right. Okay? So when you're wrong, it is easy to show a correction. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When you're right, but incomplete, it becomes harder to show a correction.
So what he's getting at here, in my opinion, is that he mentions, there's a lot more context if you watch this whole video, but he is basically saying that everything that Thor is his name presented to him is factually true. So he can't be like, well, no, that didn't happen. There's no argument there, right? But it's incomplete. It's missing the bigger picture. It's lacking something. And so he's saying it's really difficult to reason with somebody who uses truth purely as their argument. Now, if you've lost me or you're like, what the fuck you getting to, BSJ? I'm going to give you more context, I promise. But I'm going to give an example later from my own life and how this pertains. But just bear with me here that the theme of this week, the epiphany I've had, is that people care way more about the truth rather than the implications of their thoughts or words. So we're going to go on to the next clip where he has talked about, well, I'm just going to let him talk because he gives his own context.
So one of the things that I'll leave y'all with, so if there's one skill that I want y'all to develop, it is to understand the direction that your thoughts put you in. When I have a thought like this, okay, it feels fundamentally pointless to engage in such community stuff on some level in the West because of how selfish and atomized society seems to be out here as compared to developing countries. That is true. But where does that lead you? So what I notice is so hard for people right now is that their mind thinks a lot of things that are true, but moves them in the wrong direction. Right? So if I'm working with someone who says, hey, no one would ever want to date me because I'm 32, I live with my parents, I've never had a relationship, and I don't have a job. That is correct. Probably. But what direction does that move you in? We get so concerned about the truth of our thoughts that we never think about the impact of our thoughts.
So I think Dr. K is a whiz with words. I think he's absolutely a whiz with words. Right there, when you're like, if somebody comes to you for help, in his case, he's like a therapist and everything, or a psychologist, or if somebody comes for me asking for Dota tips and they give me things that are factually true, you know, it's like nobody in my games tries, people rage, they break their items, I can't win like half the games because of my teammates. It's like these things are factually true. But if you think like that, how am I supposed to help you? You've just put all the blame on somebody else. You've assigned the fact that these are just universal truths that will never change. You know, it's like, I'm 32, I live with my parents, I have no job, and I'm ugly. It's like, these are things, by saying that you are assuming will never change, you know? And it's the same thing as what resonated with me here is, I don't want to say it's the same thing. What resonated with me here is that I try to have a lot of discussions with my Twitch chat about me trying to be a better example of how to behave in pubs, trying to create a better community, trying to be a better teammate when possible. Nobody's perfect. And generally trying to improve things around me in regards to the Dota community. And 95% of people in chat, 95%, their responses are something like, yeah, but this community is hopeless. Everybody's so toxic and jaded and depressed, and everybody hates their life who plays this game, or they're just going to bitch back at you anyways. And a lot of that is factually true, right? Like, I can't argue with you. Like, I'm not debating the fact that people do that. But what Dr. K is getting at, and what I have been screaming internally that I know I can't scream at people, is, what am I supposed to fucking do with that? You know what I mean? Like, am I supposed to just accept that and do nothing? Is that like how the world works? Like, am I supposed to just assume I can't do anything? Or that just means give up? It's like, because the people around me don't seem to care about being social, like that guy was talking about in the comment that Dr. K read, does that mean I'm supposed to just give up on being social because nobody else around me seems to care, or they seem to like not put real effort into it? It's like, do I care about being social and having a community or not? It's like, do I care about that? Is that something I want? These are things that I can proactively search for and potentially find, you know, the needle in the haystack of other people that also want these things, and everything starts small, you know? And my goal has been, as a streamer, like I'm setting the foundations right now, and trust me, this is like uncharted territory, I think largely in Dota, but also especially for me, I can say that, is to create a little pocket of members of the Dota community that actually care about playing the game for the sake of improvement and tryharding and theory crafting about the game, and just enjoying it for the game that I feel like it was before like MMR became really toxic and prevalent, and it became about that dopamine hit and all the stuff that I feel like plagues our community now, and like the behavior that is acceptable now. I'm trying to create a community from the ground up that doesn't accept that behavior and doesn't accept that norm. And the majority of the time that I talk about this, people just respond with, this is how things are. And I know I'm being a bit redundant and repetitive here, but what Dr. K is saying is resonating with me so much, because it doesn't matter what the actual truth of the situation is. What matters is when you blurt out these thoughts, when you have these thoughts and you're thinking about it to yourself or talking about it to somebody else, where is that thought going to lead you? So I think the way that he talks about it is so practical and so clear what people are doing, and he gives a good reason that like, I understand what you're doing. I understand that's the way the brain thinks. You're not wrong, which is true. All those things are true, right? But at the same time, I think he so clearly demonstrates how none of those thoughts are helping you. None of those thoughts are changing anything. And if anything, they're perpetuating the system that currently is in place that everybody complains about. You know, I know very few people who are like super happy about the state of like matchmaking in the Dota community and its toxicity. I know very few people, if any, that are like, yeah, the Dota community is awesome. Now, the thing is, there are awesome members of the Dota 2 community, and I've met them in person. I work with some of them, and that's the reality. And something he mentions in this episode about the last, from the second clip, is he talks about what he's noticed in depressed people is that they are way more accurate in the way that they talk about the world. Like, their realism about it is, this is how it is. There's war, there's famine, there's genocide, there's inflation, there's housing crises. And these are things that are true. But in reality, if I'm dwelling on all of these things outside of my control and constantly kind of like bathing in those thoughts, where is that going to lead me? This is something I do too. You know, it creates anxiety. It creates like this powerlessness. Like, I can't do anything about that. And what he alludes to is so important is that what he talks about with happy people is they talk about more like the ideals or the way they want things to be, or the way they would like to work towards things being, knowing that some of those things may never happen in their lifetime, knowing that it may not be very realistic given just the reality of the situation. But they're aware of that, you know? Like, I feel like I actually got that skill by default handed to me by my mom. Very grateful for my mom for this one. And that skill that I'm talking about is just general optimism. It's like awareness that this isn't the case, awareness that that's not like how it actually is, but awareness that that's how you would like it to be, and working towards that means something to you, you know? And so, you know, this is me. I might even show this episode on stream because next time this conversation comes up, because I know I don't get too many views on this channel. You know, I would really like you guys to just consider where your thoughts are leading you, rather than how accurate are these thoughts. You can even acknowledge, like, that's a very accurate thought. But what am I doing with that thought? And that's what Dr. K is clearly saying to me that matters. And I feel like I didn't have a response to my viewers when they did this. My response was something like, what am I supposed to do with that? Or like, I can't argue that. Like, you know, like, you're right. That's true. Like, I probably didn't even say it that clearly. So with that in mind, I would just like to say that your thoughts are not necessarily something you can control, but what you do with them, how long you linger on them, how much attention you give them, that is absolutely within your power. And my takeaway largely from this is to interpret my thoughts that way, not to interpret them as true or false, but to interpret them as, what am I doing with that? What does this mean to me? What does that mean next? Where is that leading me? That's what Dr. K is saying. And man, for me, that felt like an epiphany this week. I hope that resonated with some of you guys. Would love to discuss it if you come into my channel and mention it. But yeah, that concludes the diary episode for May 10th, 2025. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And see you guys around.